Hello ladies and gents, it's SpoonyPizzas here with another Pro Evolution Soccer 2019 video. Today I'm bringing you how to best start off your Master League. So this is the very first day when you first start up your Master League. These are the things that I tend to do straight off the bat, and hopefully it's going to help you guys improve your Master League experience. So the first thing I do is go into my team management and go into my game plan. I look at my team and I go, okay, what sort of formation do I want to play? What type of style of football do I want to play? Look at player stats and see if the style of football you want to play is possible. So when I say that, I mean, if you want to play a tiki-taka style, you can't expect Fellaini, who's only got 83 actually 83 ball control is pretty good actually. But the explosive power 65, it's too slow. He needs to be more mobile. So he has to have a bit more agility. So you can put Fred in there, which might help. And then you look at his stats. He's got good ball control. He's got good explosive power. So, like I said, you want to look at your players and see how to get the best out of them, from a defensive aspect and from an attacking aspect. So that's the first thing I do. So then I get a good picture of all my players and who I could possibly let go, and the players I could possibly keep. Also take into account their age. So you might look at Ashley Young, he's 33 years old. You think, okay, well, I've got Matteo Damian, who's only 29. You can also play at left back, but Young is a good crosser of the ball, so maybe I'll sell him once I find a replacement. But so look at your players and get an idea or a picture in your head of which players you can release, which players that can go out on loan. So youngsters such as Chong and Gomez, McTominay maybe. And just look at what sort of squad you want to build. So that's the first thing I do. And that takes probably the most time once you've got your formation set. Then the next thing you want to do is go to your training. So just go to team management training, and in here just assign roles to everyone. Get rid of these balance, remove the balance. So if it's defender, make sure it's build up. It's probably the best one for a centre back. For your fullbacks, it's probably best to go offensive fullback. Defensive midfielders, especially if you want them to sit in front of the defence and patrol, make sure they're anchor man. And then up to your midfield, it's up to you how. Depends what, like I said, depends what you're trying to achieve. For me, it would probably be Fred and Pogba would be going box to box. But say, for instance, you wanted someone to stay a bit further forward, then you could try a different role. But like I said, just make sure you get rid of these balanced. Also, focus training this year is really, really good. So, say for instance, if you got Marcus Rashford here, he's already got a playing style which is goal poacher, which is great. Now, what I could do is I could go all the way to the bottom here, go to focus training, and I might just want to literally boost his speed up because that's going to create a lot of chances. So, set the speed to 5, click OK. He's still got that goal poacher role, so that means he's going to prey on the last defender. And with that extra speed he gets through the training, he's going to be a real threat on the counter-attack. Once you've set your training for everyone, you just want to go to skill training. Youth team training I don't tend to bother with, not until a season or two when all the new players flood through into the youth team ranks. When I say that, I mean regens. So what happens is when a player retires, you get a regen. So Ronaldo retires at the age of 37 or whatever, and he comes back in. You find him in your youth squad. Chances are you're going to promote him straight away. But if not, you just go into the youth team training and set that up as well, much like you would in the training. So then the next one you want to do is skill training. Now what I tend to do is I tend to move to these down here from long range drive all the way to, I would say, pinpoint crossing, because these are all really key, apart from exclude heel trick, but all the rest are pretty important attributes. Look at them and see if there's any players that you can train up. So acrobatic finishing for Lukaku, yeah, that might be a good one. But say for instance it was between acrobatic and first time shot for Lukaku, I'd go first time shot because that's more important than acrobatic finishing. Also dipping shot, yeah, that's quite useful, but it's hard to pull off sometimes. For those that don't know how to do that, I am going to be bringing out a tutorial on that. Chip shot control is very important as well, so that would take probably precedence over acrobatic finishing. Anyway, if you've got no players in those, those are the key ones for me. Then when it comes to skills, I would go scissor feint, because this is one of the most, it's probably the second most effective skill you can do. It's good for cutting in from the flanks, and also Marseille turn. So those two first. For your striker, if you want to get tricky, you could go for a sombrero. So you play it into his feet, you can lift it off the ground and flick it over the defender's head. That can be quite a, you know, when you're a goal or two up and you want to try and score a special goal and you want to mess around, then that's a good one to go for. But like I said, go for a scissor feint and Marseille turn on most players. And then after that, you know, if they've got really high dribbling and ball control skills, you can start adding flip flap, crossover turn, cutting behind turn, and scotch move, and step on skill. Those are quite useful. If you've got a striker who's you know, you're looking for a target man, then go for heading as well. That's also quite important. The ones that aren't so important are probably the ones down here. For the goalkeeper, if he hasn't got low punt and you can give it to him, absolutely train that. That is one of the most offensive tools you can have from a goalkeeper. I personally wouldn't sign a goalkeeper without goalkeeper low punt, so that's something to take into account. And then looking down here, Militia is not too bad, or Militia, whatever you want to call it. That just enables you to win a few more free kicks, and that can be quite effective. And captaincy and super sub, if you want a player to be super sub. But to be honest, there's more important things to train than super sub, because if they're a super sub, chances are you're not going to play them that often anyway. So that's the training dealt with. Next up is the negotiations, also under team management. Now, what I do is I go straight into my team, and then I have a picture of, like I said, from the game plan menu, you have a picture of who you want to keep, who's going to be your first team starters. And what I do is I go to each player, and all the ones that I don't want to sell, I make sure it's refusal. Okay, any ones that I want to sell desperately, I list as transfer listed. If I want to sell them but I only want to accept a good fee, tick both these boxes, transfer list and reasonable offers. And if I'm not too reluctant to sell, but unless there's a really good offer, I set only open to reasonable offers. That means you can get a really good offer. And then lastly is, if you want to loan a player, just select place on the loan list, and then you can negotiate whether that's 6 months or a year. But I'll be covering transfers off in a bit. Okay, so once you've done that for all your players, that would be your, that would form the basis for who you're going to sell and buy. And just to touch on that, and what it does is, if you refuse all on the players that you don't want to sell, what that does, it narrows who the computer will bid for. So chances are you will only get a few bids throughout the season for your players, and if you've narrowed it down to only like 5 or 6 players, that's better for you, because otherwise they're just going to come in offers for Pogba when I'm like, no, I don't want to sell Pogba at all. You know, get lost. I want to keep Pogba. So that's just another reason to do that. Then set up your scouting. So what I tend to do here is I disable the bolster weak spots. I mean, this is entirely your choice, but what I tend to do is enable forwards, unless you have a specific area that you want to focus on and that you know which position you want to actually search for. I tend to do that for starters, but when you get a better idea of, like, you go, actually this player is not performing, he plays in attacking midfield role, I need someone, then look for a specific position. This will help you find good players, and you'll be able to get them very, very cheap if the scout finds them. Generally, you get them a lot cheaper than if you just manually search. So use your scouts. That's very important. Listed players. This is basically a list of players that you sort of that you find in the advanced search, which I'll come back to in a bit. Then we have the youth team. They generally don't start off very well the first season, you know, 67 overall. There's never anyone super fantastic in here in the first season, but the next January transfer window, when players retire, you'll start to see not the first January transfer window. It's the next season's January transfer window. You'll find that the players that retire will appear in this list here. You just want to check it over, and also when that happens in that January transfer window, just go ahead and set the age to 16. And what that will do is that will also find any players that have retired, and you can also pick them up for cheap or free, and you know, you can loan them out and get them experience, and you'll find players like trying to think of some names now off the top of my head, but you'll find players like Robinho and stuff like that. So that's always worth doing in the advanced search. When it does come to advanced search, I just tend to search for position, and then you can filter by ability. You know, say you want a really agile player up front, and you can just search, and then if you filter it, you can do it by overall rating. And then when it comes to these chances of signing, this is really important. This just determines how well the club are likely to sell to you, and how well the player is likely to sign for you. So 3 is pretty good. That generally means you've got a good chance of signing them. 2, you're going to find one of the others is going to be very, very hard to negotiate with. So, for instance, if I want to buy Dybala, you can see there, 26 million, the club are really happy with. Probably because, yeah, that you can see there that I'm moving the bar up there. That is his release fee. So if we just go back a step, if I press the right trigger a couple of times, you can see his salary, then you see his market value, and then you got his release fee. So you can see here, if they got a release fee, you can pay that out, and yet that enables you to, the club have no say, and they cannot refuse your offer. It goes down straight to the player then at that point. So we can leave that. Then it's down to negotiating the players' salaries. Now, what I would recommend doing is lowering this as much as you can and bolstering all of these. Why do I do that? And lowering this one as well, if necessary. The reason for that is because I've cut his wage down to 3.5 or 3.8 million, down from 5.4. You're going to find that your salary budget goes out the window faster than anything else. Obviously, I've lowered the release fee, but that's not too big a worry because his contract length is only 1 year. So I can negotiate that again once he's on my books, and I can get that back up. Okay, the first thing is to get him in your team, and if you play him enough, he's going to renegotiate, and then you can pay him, pay him a little bit better wage, and bolster that release fee. So that's really important. And these here, the win bonus, the goal bonus, the appearance bonus, they come out of the transfer budget, not the salary budget. And they're so minuscule, you wouldn't even blink an eye. So always bolster these and try to lower the player salaries for all of your transfers. Okay. Next up is the manager's office. Now you want to come straight in here and go to finance. Go to budget settings. And you see all these where it says receive his salary budget. If you want to boost your salary budget, which I recommend doing, change all of those to receive a salary budget. This is going to help bolster your salary budget because you're never going to really have a problem with your transfer budget generally. If you do, then switch them back, but generally just leave them as receive a salary budget. The other thing you can do is you can loan players. Now that will actually come out of your transfer budget and won't even touch your salary budget. So let me just show you that. So I can go to centre forward And anyone with a 3 bars, I could loan Dybala. Here we go, Sadio Mane. Let's go to a 1-year transfer loan. 80% chance and a transfer fee of 5.2 million. That's not too bad, considering I'm going to have that player for a year, whole year, for 5 million. And if it doesn't work out, he can go back to his back to Liverpool after a year, and I can look at someone else. I might have won the Champions League, I might have won the Premier League, and that will enable me to have more funds and either buy him outright when the time comes, or I can go, well, he didn't really perform, it's only a loan, so back to Liverpool you go. And that's one of the things I tend to do when I move to a new club, because all the team spirit is skewed, which is going to be my next point. Team spirit is really, really important in this game. Okay, this little figure up here that says 84, okay, next to Lee Grant, that is your team spirit. Now, that will change if you change tactics. If I change all these to something opposite, it's dropped down to 74. If I change these, 39. So that will have a massive impact on how you play. You're going to find it really, really tough. Also, if you go to player settings, select your captain. Watch that 39. If I set Pogba to the captain, sometimes it will boost the team spirit. In this instance, it didn't, probably because it's really upset them, but that can also help bolster the team spirit as well. So when you do make changes to your tactics, just make sure that you take into account that team spirit. What I would recommend is, if you do want to change tactics, change one thing at a time, get a few wins under your belt, that will boost your team spirit, and then switch something else. Okay? Or just check to see which ones have an effect. So you can see counter-attack and possession have no impact on this team. Okay. And finally, that brings me to this last point, is when you do negotiate a deal for these, on the right hand side, if you press your right bumper, you'll see tactical links. If it's got a tactical link, that means they are suited to your style of play. So on the right hand side, we have counter and possession. Build up type is long or short. Attacking area, wide or central. Positioning, maintain or flexible. Defensive styles, frontline pressure, all out defense. Penning area, middle or wide. And pressuring, aggressive or conservative. Now, on the right hand side, we have my tactics. Sorry. On the left hand side, we have my tactics. And on the right hand side, we have his favoured tactics. So you can see here, the only one he disagrees with is my type of pressuring. So at the minute, I'm doing conservative pressuring. And what you can do is, if I change that to aggressive and go back, obviously you wouldn't want to do this because you want to play the football you want to play. But I'm just showing you that that tactical link is now highlighted because I've switched to aggressive. So like I said, on the left hand side, it's the managerial tactics. On the right hand side, you can see he's quite flexible. He doesn't mind counter-attacking or possession, long or short build-up, and so on and so forth. The only ones he doesn't like is flexible positioning, middle penning area, and pressuring conservative. And you know, that decides how good a fit they'll be. When it comes to this, I would say I would go no less than 4, unless you really, really want that player, and then it would be 3. But I probably wouldn't go below 4 if I was going to sign a player. If it's 2 or less, definitely not. Because even though the player might have really good stats, he's going to take ages to adjust to your style, and it just probably won't work out. And you'll probably go, this player feels rubbish. He doesn't. He's got terrible control. You're going to notice things that even though his stats say, you know, is really high, say he's got really high dribbling, you'll be able to think, you'll be thinking, well, he's not that skillful. Why isn't he? And it's all because of these tactical links, and he's still trying to adapt to your tactics. Wins will bolster your team spirit and also help your players learn how to adjust themselves to your tactics. So that's something to take into account as well. And that, ladies and gents, is pretty much it. I don't think I've missed anything. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you've got any questions about any of this, then please let me know, and I'll be sure to answer those questions. And lastly, do not forget to save the game when you first start it up. Make sure you hit the autosave in the system settings. Thanks a lot, ladies and gents. I'll catch you again. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.